So I think that some of the positives that go into extracurriculars involve teamwork and just learning how to work with other people. I also think it gives kids a chance to explore different areas of interest and just explore different potential that they have. I think that teaches them responsibility and just how to really work hard at something. Some of the negatives that I see is just pressure to succeed. I think that if someone gets caught up in seeing their extracurricular as part of their identity, then that pressure to succeed gets a lot worse. And then they fall into just a cycle of just sadness potentially if they don't do well. And it's also a lot of time commitment depending on how many extracurriculars you're doing, how involved you are, things like that. And again, if like this can go either way, but confidence, it can either boost your confidence or it can just demolish your self-esteem. It can be a pro or a con. When it comes to parents, I do think they walk a lot of fine lines. I think they have to differentiate between encouraging their kids to try their best versus be their best, and use extracurriculars as a time to really help grow their child in a way that isn't detrimental to them. And I also think that they have to make sure that their time isn't fully committed to extracurriculars, that they are spending time working on schoolwork and doing things at church and just being involved in other things that aren't extracurriculars.
For me, the positive thing about is that development, the leadership, how to, I think especially in this generation, the kids need to learn how to be a leader in some way. If they see someone who's leading and then who have the leadership role, I think they can set the example, and then for the future, yeah, give them how to be a leader and development leadership. And the bad thing about is that I think a lot of sport they play on, sometimes they play on Sunday, so I think kids gonna miss a lot of church time. So that I think the parents need to carefully adjust on time management, make sure that the kids go to church. I think that church should be a priority, not sport. So I think the parents need to the parents need to give them a chance to play sport at the same time to make sure they don't miss church activity and church time.
A positive for me is that so extracurricular activities allows students to branch out outside of just academics. In my context, especially, like, I mean, I'm sure it is like that in many other contexts, but in Asian American families, there is a huge emphasis on for the students to really thrive in their academics. And I think extracurricular activities, lets them know that there's an opportunity to really see that, it's not just about, being the A student, it's not just about having the highest GPA or the highest SAT score, but, in order to be a more balanced and person and just to grow, to continue to learn. I mean, it's good to, learn a sport, be part of a club, and just allows them to really see that perspective. So I think that's one of the positives. One of the negatives is that sometimes extracurricular activities, some people just get too heavily involved in it, and ends up compromising their responsibility as students. So these extracurricular activities, they're meant to really just to be a means of allowing students to be a more balanced person, I guess, just to be able to see just the different things outside of academics. But then a lot of people, at least some of the ones that I've seen, just get too heavily involved in these extracurricular activities that, they start putting, these extracurricular activities as a primary responsibility rather than, their academics. So I think that's one of the negatives. And as a parents, what they can do is just, extracurricular activities is extra. The priority, the main responsibility of student is to be a student. So their emphasis should be trying to obviously emphasize, being students, and all the other responsibilities they have in the church and the family, and these extracurricular activities should be more of a secondary. So that's definitely something that parents have to discern for themselves and allow them, teach their children to be able to really draw certain boundaries that are healthy.
I think the positives of extracurricular are it helps the students learn some discipline. It helps them to experience some failure if they try out or audition for a group and they don't make it, or try out for a team and don't make it. So there's the experience of perhaps failure. There's also, it's just fun to be involved in extracurriculars. And like everybody else has said, it gives them a way to kind of expand. Some of the negatives is that it can really, really dominate somebody's time and become way more important in a person's life than it needs to be in a student's life. And sometimes that's driven by the parents, you know, in some ways wanting to live through their kid. They didn't get to make the team, so their kid makes the team, and then they kind of live vicariously through them that way. And so my admonishment to parents, or encouragement to parents, would be don't do that. Let your kids do what they want to do. Don't try to talk them into stuff that you wanted to do but you could never do. But also to make sure you kind of guard that time and help them to make sure that they don't turn that activity, even if it's a great activity, don't turn it into an idol, so that they can still spend more time or the amount of time that they need to in their spiritual development and being involved in the church, an active member of the church, an active member of the youth ministry, where they can do mission work and share the gospel with their classmates and all that kind of stuff like that. I think that's what the parents can do to encourage them in that way.